Are machine guns useless on a light mech? And does carrying machine guns automatically disqualify them? As a mech warrior, as a mech commander, that's the tactica that we're going to explore in this Battletech vlog. Now, light mechs, we're trying to pack a lot into a light mech, and we're limited by the tonnage. We've got that core tonnage, but once we drop in the heat sinks, the engine, and the other components, that doesn't leave a lot of room for weapons. So often what we see is the primary weapon of a light mech is the standard medium laser. And one of the tactics that we've explored that I've pushed up to the Battletech archive, Inner Sphere, best weapon in the game, just for a framework reference, is a medium laser. But Fritz, you love autocannon 20s. You love LRM 20 packs. Yes. But if I look at tonnage, range, ammunition, damage, heat, the medium laser, maybe large laser secondary, but the medium laser is key. So we see this mounted on a lot of heavier mechs, but also often the primary weapon that you're going to try and zap stuff with for a light mech is going to be that medium laser. Now, there are a couple of mechs that kind of break that mold and might mount a 10-pack, LRM 10-pack, or a PPC, or a large laser. But their role is very specialized. It's a little bit different. Standard stock medium laser. Now we see secondary weapons, whether we've got a little bit of tonnage to fill out, or you want to add some other weapons in case something happens not only to the primary, or you're in that spot where you just wish you had a little bit more dice. And now what we see in standard most mechs is a short-range missile pack or machine guns. The difference between the two, of course, is range and potentially damage. You've got to be effectively point blank for a machine gun, where the missiles, short-range missile pack, whether it's a 2 or a 4-pack, a little bit more pushed out, and also direct damage to one spot versus potentially spread out. The challenge and the question that I ask is, I find myself, and I often run locusts, right? We've got the 2 machine guns, we've got the medium laser, but I always run a locust variant. And what's interesting is I usually don't run variant mechs. There's nothing wrong with a customized mech, with variant mechs. The 2 variants that I do regularly run in place of the core stock mech is the Locust with 2 short-range missile 2-packs, drop the machine guns, put in 2 SRM-2s. And with the Archer, often for the lulls, I'll run the primitive version just with rockets. A salvo, a death blossom salvo of hundreds and hundreds of rockets fired at once, pushing that element out for the lulls. Those are the 2 variants that I'll run. What I noticed with machine guns, light mechs that have machine guns, if I'm that close to use the machine gun, there might be an opportunity, right? There might be that one opportunity where, look, the mech took some hits, rear armor, we punched through. I can get that locust behind there, zap it with the machine guns, zap it with a medium laser. I just need something to go into internals, and we're ready to go. Yes, that could possibly happen, but mainly what we see with light mechs is trying to stay at a distance. The survivability of a light mech is speed, hexes, terrain, and trying to stay out of firing arcs. So by the very nature of using machine guns, that means I'm point blank. And ideally, in Battletech, nothing is one-on-one. So if I've got that locust engaging another mech and I got rear armor, even if you're weakened and I'm going to try and crit you, ideally there'd be something, well, not ideally for me, there'd be ideally something else around backing up your mech. A hover, a medium mech, another light mech. So to get that rear armor and not have anything else to face doesn't always quite work out. I want to keep some distance. I want to zap from a distance with that medium laser. So I find from that perspective, I was rarely using the machine guns. Okay, against infantry. You know, infantry is an interesting aspect to Battletech. And if you're new to the game, yes, mechs are king of the battlefield. Many battles involve mechs. But one of the great things layered over the Game of Armored Combat rules is the fact that combined arms, total warfare, the Total Warfare supplement, where you can bring in vehicles, you can bring in artillery, you can bring in infantry and a lot of different interesting infantry rules. And I am going to kind of summarize it a little bit. Infantry are low battle value. They have a spread of, when they shoot, it represents a number of infantry in that hex, and they're shooting at different parts of the mech, so you've got that spread. Range can be very short to kind of okay, depending on the weapon's configuration, which will change battle value a little bit. But the main thing about infantry is the rules that favor attacks, especially if they're dug into terrain or hardened terrain or going to ground. Normal weapons, most weapons, like a PPC or missiles, really aren't going to do much to infantry, if anything. Machine guns, flamers too, but we'll put flamers aside. Machine guns will cut through them and eliminate them. So you often want to deal with infantry, either bypass them completely or kind of machine gun them to get them the heck out of there, especially if they're objective camping or they're set up where you have to move through them. Well, those infantry stands are such low battle value. Often you're not just taking one. You'll have 3 or 4 infantry working together. Maybe they're mechanized. Maybe they're on foot. Maybe they've got an APC. Maybe they've got a fighting vehicle, like a goblin backing them up, pushing that aside for a minute. If I've got 4 stands of infantry, you ideally attack one with machine guns. I'm going to open up with those 3 or 4 stands on that one target. If it's a Thunderbolt, a T-Bolt with machine guns, or a Warhammer, not that we ever want to get hit, but you could take a couple of hits and eliminate infantry pretty quickly. A light mech just doesn't have the armor, the staying power. There was a City Fight City Tech game that I was playing where I had my locusts, and it was this long roadway with buildings on the left and buildings on the right, maybe about 25 or 30 hexes long. We were playing on a traditional wargaming table, and we had it packed, hundreds of buildings. It was an amazing game, a great game. And I just knew we were playing with hidden and revealed units, where you could hide some units, marking down ahead of time of where they were. The buildings were removable, so you could hide some units and put them in the buildings and remove the building when they're revealed, take them out, put them on top of the building, represent them inside of the building. I just knew that, yes, I could run down that with my locusts and get to my opponent's flank, get to the deployment zone, a lot of great fun stuff. But I knew there was 10 or 15 infantry stands just waiting for it to happen, waiting for me to run through to see what happened. Now, did I do it on a side note? Of course. I had to. I knew, but I wanted to see it. And I took one locust, ran it down there, made it, 10 or 15 hexes in, and just infantry swarming, laser infantry, short-range missile infantry, just blasting the heck out of this mech. It's a perfect example of the light mech, and I was blazing away with my machine guns because I did have them on there. I figured I'd at least fire back at something. Machine guns against infantry, yes, but you've got to have that staying power. It just doesn't exist on the Wasp, or is it the Wasp or the Stinger? I'll let my fellow mech warriors correct me. Wasp or Stinger? One has the short-range missile 2-pack, one has the machine guns. A great example of that. Or the Locust with the machine guns. On a light mech, I'd rather drop that for the short-range missiles. So this way, if I do get that rear armor, or I do get that interesting situation, or I need to kind of punch it out, duke it out with another light mech, I'd rather have the missile spread and the medium lasers than the machine guns. So turning it over to my fellow mech warriors, mech commanders, machine guns on a light mech. Better than nothing, but just how usable are they? And are they an auto drop for some sort of variant? If it's an official variant, or just drop it and slap on a little bit more armor, take it from that perspective. Do they work? How do they work? Agree or disagree?